Okay, as you can see, we're in Lightroom CC 2015. What we're going to do is set this up so you know what file is being sent to Photoshop when you go to edit. So all we're going to do is click edit, and then down towards the bottom, and of course this is on a PC, it'll look different on a Mac. You hit preferences. When your preference window comes up, you go to external editing, and this is the way I have mine set up. It goes from Lightroom to Photoshop as a TIFF file. Color space is Pro RGB. Bit depth is 16. Resolution is 240 and no compression. You can change it to a PSD. If you do that, just read this. This is one of the reasons I use a TIFF. RGB is the largest color space you can use. Bit depth, the 16 is also the most bit depth you can have. 240 is fine. Some people recommend 300. I just use the 240. Once you have that all set the way you want it, click OK. And then when you're in Lightroom, when you want to send something to Photoshop, you can go to Photo and then Edit In and choose Edit in Lightroom or in Photoshop. Generally, I click on the image, right click, do Edit In, and out of the menu choose Photoshop. If you've already worked on an image in Photoshop, you want to edit original. If you have only worked on it in Lightroom, choose edit. Well, generally speaking, I choose edit original unless there's Lightroom adjustments that I want to move to Photoshop, and then I click the edit with Lightroom adjustments. So we'll click edit original since I haven't done anything to this image. Click edit. It'll take it into Photoshop. All I'm going to do for this demo is add a new layer, grab my brush tool, and just make a couple of marks so that you can tell that something's been done. And then to get it back to Lightroom, all you need to do is to save. It's doing its saving. As soon as it's done with that, which shouldn't take too long. Okay, we're done saving. I'm just going to close this out. Go back to Lightroom, and you can see that the changes are done. Now, if you try to export it from here as a PSD, which is one of your options, File Settings PSD, you will not export your layers. You'll only export the finished image. So you really can't do a PSD export from here if you want to export the layers so somebody else can work on it. You got to go back to Lightroom for that. So we'll hit cancel here. Right click on the image again. Edit in. We'll choose Photoshop. Edit original. It'll take it back into Photoshop, and you can see we have our layers. Now if I want to save it so I can send the entire PSD file to somebody else to work on, we'll go to File, Save As, find a location for it. In this case, I'm just going to put it on the desktop. Photoshop test. We'll do it as a PSD. Click Save. It's going through its little bit of saving. Okay, now it's done. We'll close out of this just so we don't have it there anymore. We can go to Lightroom and see that it's still in Lightroom. If we go back to Photoshop, go to Open, find it on the desktop, click Open there, We'll come in and you can see that we have all our layers and it's in a PSD format as indicated up here. Now, if you're sending this to somebody and they don't need the full resolution file, what I would do is go into image, image size, and then downsize this. This is 126 megs per layer, and we have 2 layers. So all I'm going to do is go in here and basically halve this. We'll do 2600. You can see we dropped it from 126. Oops, let me move this where you can see it. We can drop it from 126 megs down to 25 megs. So we went from a 252 meg file down to a 52 meg file. Then we'll hit OK. And then I would do save as again. And we'll just say this is test number 2. And that way I prepared a low resolution file that you can Dropbox to somebody else, and they'll have access to all the files on the computer, but you have a lot smaller file that you're sending. It'll take a lot less time. When I'm sending my stuff like this, I usually send it via Dropbox, which is dropbox.com. If you aren't familiar with it, you may need to look into that. But this should give you everything you need to know. Now you should have, if we get out of here, we should have 2 tests on the desktop. One is the full size PSD, and one is the reduced size low res PSD, which still has all the layer functions. I hope that helps you out.